In America, size has become synonymous with safety. It's an ingrained belief, an accepted truth across millions of drivers. The thinking is simple, visceral, and seemingly logical. In a collision, mass always wins. That's why, over the last 2 decades, millions have flocked to these modern behemoths: the Ford F-150, the Chevrolet Silverado, the Ram. They believe the high ride, the muscular V8 power, and the sheer overwhelming bulk of a modern pickup truck make them impervious to danger. It's a psychological fortress, the ultimate safety net you can buy for your family. This belief that my truck is safer is an absolute driver of the modern auto market, dictating everything from design trends to driveway space. But we have to ask, is this statement really true? Does mass translate to public safety? The data tells a very different and much darker story. Since the rise of the modern, ultra-large pickup truck, the statistics have become grim. Pedestrian fatalities have skyrocketed. Fatalities involving smaller passenger vehicles colliding with large trucks are increasing at an alarming rate. The very thing that makes the truck driver feel safe, its size, is statistically turning minor fender benders into catastrophic one-sided events for everyone else on the road. The safety of the driver is coming at the direct expense of public safety. We need to stop trusting our gut feeling and look at the undeniable, brutal physics of survival. The fundamental truth of a collision is governed by the conservation of momentum. Think of it as a simple pool game where a heavy 8-ball hits a lightweight cue ball. Yes, mass is an undeniable shield for the truck's occupants. Because the truck is heavier and more massive, the smaller, lighter car or the pedestrian is forced to absorb the vast majority of the impact energy. The truck barely slows down. Its occupants experience a relatively mild deceleration, while the occupants of the smaller vehicle experience an instantaneous, violent stop. The problem, then, isn't the occupants inside the truck who are well protected in frontal crashes. The problem is the lethal consequences for the occupants outside it. The truck is simply too good at protecting itself, which means it's terrible at protecting the general public. This is fundamentally tied to engineering philosophy. Modern cars are built around the concept of sacrificial crumple zones. They use carefully engineered structures, lightweight steels, pre-folded sections, to extend the collision time from milliseconds to fractions of a second. The car is designed to sacrifice itself, slowly collapsing to turn a sudden lethal stop into a survivable, prolonged slowdown. But trucks relying on the body-on-frame design are inherently and intentionally more rigid. They are built for towing, hauling, and off-road ruggedness. Their front ends are designed to push, not to collapse. They don't want to crumple. This reliance on rigid frames means that when a truck hits something, be it a deer, a concrete barrier, or a smaller sedan, they transfer a brutal, instantaneous force, often termed aggressive stiffness, into the object they hit. They lack the elegant, self-sacrificing geometry of a modern unibody sedan, making the transfer of energy more violent and less survivable for the other party. Furthermore, the high chassis and the powerful V8 engine needed to power these giants give these trucks another inherent danger that directly impacts their own safety: a high center of gravity. This is an unforgiving law of physics. The higher a vehicle's weight is stacked, the more unstable it is in emergency maneuvers. They are far more prone to rollover accidents than any low-slung sedan or even a purpose-built crossover. Even with advanced electronic stability control systems, which are brilliant, they cannot defy physics. When a driver has to swerve suddenly to avoid a hazard, a scenario common on the highway, the sheer height and mass of the vehicle make it dangerously susceptible to rolling, transforming an avoidance maneuver into a catastrophic accident, especially if the tires catch a soft shoulder. The very feature that provides the commanding view also creates a foundational instability that a smaller, lower vehicle simply doesn't suffer from. Beyond the internal physics of the crash, the size and height of the modern truck create 2 absolutely terrifying external danger zones. The first is the most horrifying danger: the underride crash. A sedan's crumple zone is designed by engineers to strike another vehicle's crumple zone, a bumper hitting a bumper, metal designed to crush against metal designed to crush. But when a low-slung sedan hits the side or rear of a high-riding truck, the sedan's hood simply passes underneath the truck's rigid frame. The truck's frame, often a reinforced boxed piece of steel, then directly contacts the softest part of the sedan, the passenger compartment, the glass, and the occupants themselves. It completely bypasses all the sedan's carefully engineered safety features, the airbags, the structural reinforcements, rendering them useless. This turns a fender bender into a guaranteed fatality, a scenario that the modern truck's high stance makes tragically common. The second danger zone targets the most vulnerable on the road, the pedestrian. For pedestrians, the danger has evolved dramatically with the size of the grille. Decades ago, older cars had sloping hoods and low front bumpers. While tragic, these designs were engineered to throw a pedestrian over the car, allowing them to potentially roll over the soft hood and windshield. Modern megatrucks, however, have massive flat, vertical faces that rise much higher than an average human's center of gravity. The collision occurs not at the pedestrian's legs, but at the height of an adult's chest or head. The sheer mass and vertical impact deliver fatal force directly to the upper body, resulting in a fractured skull or catastrophic torso injury. This design choice, prioritized for aggressive aesthetics and engine cooling, results in a much higher fatality rate for pedestrians than any other vehicle type. And finally, there is the simple practical danger that contributes to tragic low-speed accidents: visibility. These high, boxy front ends, necessitated by large V8 engines and modern aesthetic trends, create massive ground-level blind spots that drivers often fail to account for. When looking out the windshield of a modern F-150, a child, a small bicycle, or a shopping cart can disappear completely from the driver's view in the massive area directly in front of the vehicle. This isn't a physics issue, it's a sheer negligent engineering failure of design, creating a huge unseen risk during routine, low-speed maneuvers like leaving a driveway or reversing in a parking lot. The automotive and insurance industries have finally started to notice the stark data. Safety bodies like the EIIHS have started changing their testing protocols to specifically account for the damage that larger, stiffer vehicles inflict on smaller ones. Some truck manufacturers are beginning to respond. Newer trucks are implementing lower front bumper extensions and modified front-end geometry. This isn't just about protecting the truck's occupants. This is an explicit market-driven admission that the standard, high-riding truck design is inherently dangerous to others. These modifications are specifically designed to engage the crumple zones of smaller vehicles, pushing the sedan down and into its own energy-absorbing structure rather than letting the deadly underride occur. So when we ask what the safest vehicle is, we have to reevaluate the question. Objectively, the safest vehicle is the one with the highest overall crash ratings, but critically, one that poses the least threat to others. It is the vehicle designed to absorb its own kinetic energy, protecting its occupants without instantly overwhelming another vehicle or person. It is the vehicle engineered for mutual survival, not just one-sided dominance. The physics don't lie. While the V8 truck feels safe because of its weight, that weight and its rigid frame are precisely what transform it into a weapon when colliding with anything smaller. The question is no longer what protects me best, but what contributes to the least overall harm.